Good morning and happy Saturday, everyone. How's everyone doing this morning?
Good
Good morning,
morning.
everybody. Another great day.
All right. So, gosh, it's the 21st of June here, and I know we're up in the close to 100 episodes of Voices of Health Point, which is just shocking and amazing. But we've got a full docket today, so we're going to jump right into it. For those that are new here, you're welcome to join live. We run from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and being live allows you to just kind of participate and be part of this round robin discussion, which is just the fun part. But for those that are not taking it in live and want to watch it later, episodes are uploaded onto YouTube under Voices of Health Point. So you can find all the episodes there. So as we often do, we have some known docket items that some people in the group here would like to share on. And we've got some great stuff lined up. Not saying my stuff is going to be great. You can be the judge of that, but I'm going to cover a topic on leptin, the powerful signaling molecule of leptin. And then we've got Carol that is going to unpack CoQ10. That might be a little bit familiar term to people, but wow, is that a powerful one. And we're really looking forward to Carol's expertise on that. And she's also going to touch on a bit of a strategy in Health Point, or just in general. She's labeling call ahead. And then we also may have David that will be doing a kind of a little bit of a topic on eclectic. So with that, we've got a full docket for sure. Let me jump right in, and I want to sometimes give context to what it is that I'm covering. And what's giving context to this, in this past week, I've been meeting with a lot of new people that are considering going on this journey, and this journey of weight loss primarily is what they're looking to do. And understandably, there's a level of fear and anxiety and a lack of hope or belief, because there's this intuitive sense that what it takes is willpower. And if somebody has 30 pounds to lose, 50 pounds to lose, 100 pounds to lose, how in the heck are you going to have willpower through that? And that's why I want to dive into this topic. And I want to jump right into it because I'm taking some liberty here. I kind of formatted two different ways to kind of approach a story on this. And I think one way might relate to some people and the other way might relate to other people. And such, leptin is, I think, a very important topic. I'm going to cover them both. So I apologize for that, but I'm making a choice to do that. Okay, let's dive into it. So this is called Sober Signals: How Leptin Rewires Hunger, Emotion, and Energy. Most people think that losing weight is all about willpower, that if they could just try harder, eat less, and move more, the scale would cooperate. But the truth is, our bodies are far more complex, and hormones play a powerful role in how we feel, behave, and respond to food. Let's talk about two major players, insulin and leptin. You may already know that insulin is a hormone that regulates blood sugar. When we eat, especially carbohydrates, our blood sugar rises and insulin is released to bring it down by moving glucose into the cells. But when insulin is high all the time due to frequent eating, snacking, or ultra-processed foods, it doesn't just move sugar, it tells the body, store fat, don't burn it. That's not what you want, right? So this is a core issue in insulin resistance. Over time, the body becomes less sensitive to insulin, so the pancreas makes more of it, locking the body into fat storage mode. Even worse, high insulin can block the body from accessing fat for fuel, which is why many people feel tired and hungry despite having plenty of stored energy. But here's where things get really interesting and less talked about: leptin. Leptin is produced by your fat cells. It's supposed to tell your brain, we have enough fuel stored. You can stop eating now. It works by acting on the hypothalamus, the part of the brain that regulates hunger, energy expenditure, and overall metabolic balance. When leptin is working well, you feel full after meals, your cravings are manageable, and your body maintains a healthy rhythm of energy intake and output. But when leptin isn't working, a state known as leptin resistance, your brain can't hear the signal. Even though you may have plenty of body fat and circulating leptin, your brain acts as if you're starving. This means increased hunger, slower metabolism, strong cravings, especially for high reward foods, lowered motivation to move, a persistent emotional drive to eat. And this isn't emotional eating in the psychological sense. This is hormonal hijacking. The emotions and urges are real because the body believes it's in survival mode. Here's a way to picture it. Imagine you've had alcohol in your system for hours or days. A police officer stops you and asks you to walk a straight line, something simple when sober, but in that moment, it's difficult. Now imagine your hormonal state is constantly pushing hunger and fatigue signals at you 24/7, year after year. Even simple choices like eating a balanced meal or skipping a dessert feels confusing or overwhelming. You're not weak, you're biochemically out of balance. Now, here's the good news. You can, quote, sober up. When you start a science-based program like HealthPoint, you reduce the blood sugar spikes and insulin surges that fuel fat storage. Remember our Jumpstart. For those that are familiar with the program, think Jumpstart days, and you start seeing this put together. So you reduce the blood sugar spikes and insulin surges that fuel fat storage. Your insulin begins to normalize, and your body learns to burn fat again. At the same time, as fat mass begins to decrease, leptin levels begin to fall. And more importantly, leptin sensitivity starts to return. Your brain starts hearing the we're satisfied signal again, the quote, we're satisfied signal again. This can happen relatively quickly in a matter of days or certainly weeks. Clients often say things like, I'm shocked by how not hungry I am. We've all heard that, right? I'm shocked by how not hungry I am. That's not magic. That's a biochemical shift. And from there, it becomes a rhythm. Daily check-ins with your coach, protein-forward meals, strength-preserving habits, mindset shifts through daily audios, and community support. Over time, your hormones work for you, not against you. This isn't to say there's no effort involved, but it is to say that when your internal signals start aligning with your goals, when you feel what it's like to be in a regulated state, it becomes doable, even steady. That's why so many people describe the 4-week active phase of HealthPoint as a sweet spot for progress, often seeing 2 to 4 pounds per week of fat loss with no noticeable changes in how they feel, think, and move. Yes, you still need to engage in the habits. Yes, mindset work and support are part of the equation, but the underlying hormonal shift is what makes those actions feel more possible, even natural, over time. You're not broken. You may just be out of sync hormonally. And when insulin and leptin begin to recalibrate, it's like waking up from a fog, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally too. That's the power of hormones. And that's the power of having a coach and a program that's working with your biology, not against it. All right, so that's version 1. I'm gonna, in the interest of time, jump right into version 2 that you'll hear from the titles a little bit more fun and may pick up those that maybe don't. The first version is a little bit sciencey, a little bit geeky, and some of us like that. The others kind of just like fun. So David, this one's for you, you sanguine you. Okay, this one's titled The Bear,
I
the
like
Berries.
sobering up.
Okay, all right, well, this is very fun here. So Dave is a self-described sanguine, which is people that really love fun, and David's super fun, and so this is kind of a fun story because we all like to hear stories about bears, right? But this is very relevant. You think about this: where in the animal kingdom is this engineered for survival? So the title of this one, real quickly, is again, The Bear, the Berries, and Why You're Not Broken. Have you ever felt like you're always hungry, even when you know you had enough to eat? or like your body just isn't wanting to let go of weight, no matter how disciplined you are, it turns out nature has a story that explains a lot of this, and it involves bears. In the fall, right before hibernation, grizzly bears enter a state called hyperphagia, a fancy name that means, quote, eat constantly. During this time, they gorge on fruit, especially wild berries that are high in fructose, a natural sugar found in things like honey, fruit, and processed foods like soda and sweetened snacks. Here's what's fascinating. Even though these bears are gaining fat quickly, their brains don't register fullness. That's because fructose actually blocks the brain's response to leptin, the hormone that tells your brain, we've had enough. You can stop eating now. So even though their leptin levels are rising because their fat is increasing, their brains stop hearing the signal. This is called leptin resistance. And it's a completely normal seasonal adaptation for bears. It helps them gain weight fast in order to survive the winter. Now, here's the twist. Humans are experiencing the same leptin blocking effect, but year round. We live in a world full of ultra-processed, fructose-loaded foods, from flavored yogurts and granola bars to juices and dressings. Our bodies are constantly pushed towards leptin resistance. And when leptin resistance happens, your brain thinks you're starving, even when you have plenty of fat stored. This is why you may feel hungry all the time. You may find it hard to stop eating, even when you want to. Your metabolism may slow down, and your body may store fat more easily, especially around the middle, around the trunk. And it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because your body is stuck in a pattern that was once useful in nature, but now it works against you. Here's the good news. With the right support and a science-backed approach, you can start to reverse leptin resistance. When your brain starts hearing that leptin again, hunger levels drop, cravings ease, energy returns, and your body can start releasing fat more easily. This is why so many people in Health Point say, I'm surprised by how not hungry I am. They haven't just learned new habits, they've changed their internal signals. You're not broken, you're just biologically confused, like a bear preparing for hibernation, but without the winter nap. I love that part. When we clear out the noise, reset the chemistry, and create consistency, your body begins to feel safe again, and that changes everything. Okay, that's it on all things bears and leptin, except for any comments or questions. If you're wanting to say anything, just make sure you're unmuted, because I think everybody is muted right now. And if not, we will move right into Carol. Okay.
Yes.
Good morning, Carol.
Good
Happy
morning.
Saturday.
Thank you. Happy Saturday to everybody. It's a beautiful day here in Florida. We've had some rain, so everything is nice and green and unthirsty. That was a very good article, and it just kind of ties in. I'm going to kind of find a shady spot here so I'm not huffing and puffing, because Hank claims that people can't hear me when I'm huffing and puffing. We have our two granddaughters with us, Sydney and Kelsey, one celebrating a new engagement and upcoming wedding, and the other one is celebrating early graduation from Duke, which was in December. So anyway, excuse me, a truck just went by. Okay, so the reason I'm bringing them up, and I asked them if they would share, but I think I scared them off the walk and talk. That's kind of intimidating for them at 22 and 25. But it was interesting. We have a term called call ahead. And I'm going to speak not only the people that are on the program, but the people that are on long-term maintenance. because I think what Eric was reading with the leptin and the brain signals and all of that, that helps in the controlling of your mindset, that helps in controlling of your hormones. And then as the book we've been promoting that some of us got in our Health Point Intensives coaching program, Willpower Doesn't Work, is an excellent book because it really brings out about controlling your environment. They're not talking just about eating, they're talking about everything. But here, because we're on Walk and Talk, we can kind of focus in on eating. The reason I say call ahead is because, excuse me, I gotta look at my camera here. The girls called ahead about a week before. They said, I think I might have even asked them, which a lot of times your hosts will. Do you have any kind of eating situations? Because they can vary from time to time. Well, both of the girls are gluten free. And so we're not necessarily gluten free, but because of Health Point, we just don't really eat gluten. I mean, I guess it's just not a choice for us. But and for them, it isn't anymore either. But when they go out of their environment, it will play a part. So I ran around and looked at different things for gluten, which are mostly in your packaged things, and you'll notice that the environment really addresses gluten quite well today. And so the point there is that they called ahead. They said, Grandma, we're gluten free. So I didn't have stuff in the house. And they were very, very good about making their healthy choices. And I have to say, for girls that are single and 22 and 25, most are not into that scene. But because one has a thyroid issue and the other one has some kind of a, trying to think what Sydney's was. Both of them had issues that they found out from their functional doctor, and gluten was at the bottom of it. And they know how they eat. So my point is, a lot of times when we go into lifetime maintenance, not so much on the program, because on the program, you're pretty well structured as to what you're going to eat. But it's when you get off the program, you get on lifetime maintenance, and now you have a lifetime ahead of you of developing healthy habits. And all the girls, even though they're not in Health Point, they have a lifetime ahead of them of healthy habits because in their brain, like leptin, their brain tells them when they've eaten gluten and they don't like it. And so even if they haven't eaten it, their brain goes into, I don't like how I feel when I eat gluten, so therefore I'm not going to make those choices. And I think that's what we want to do in Health Point, not necessarily just with gluten, but Health Point maintenance, long-term maintenance in general, is we have to think as we're making selections or we're going places, where do I want to go that I'm going to feel good afterwards? So you might go into a pizza joint, okay, or a fast food place, which we probably none of us would. But anyway, and you think, okay, I'm going to feel pretty yucky after I eat this. So I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go someplace else. Well, we were in this dilemma last night because we are going to go out to eat. We had it all planned out. And then a storm hit. We were going to go out to our little favorite beachy place. Well, it was raining, so that wasn't going to work. So the girls went to research because I tried to find gluten-free restaurants, and a lot of the restaurants, well, yeah, we can make salads, blah, blah, blah. So the girls went and they found a place called the Naked Farmer. And it's just a little walk-through place, kind of a, you make your selections and you walk in and everything is very, very healthy. Well, just by the name, the Naked Farmer. So that means that it doesn't have a bunch of preservatives in it. It doesn't have gluten in it. It doesn't have corn syrup or high sugared things. It's just really good, clean, healthy food, such as grass-fed steak, um, organic things, nothing with gluten in it. And it was great because we could look over the menu, then we could go through the line, and you could pick exactly what you wanted. And so my point is, there are things like that when you think ahead or when you look ahead, and you end up finding some of your favorite places. Sometimes you're not going to do that with a restaurant, but you're going to do that with somebody that you're staying with. Like the girls were staying with us for 5 days, so they let us know. Well, so obviously I'm going to think ahead on that and just not have that stuff around. Not that we would anyway, but if there were, two young girls, we might have had some snacks around or something just because they're young girls. But these girls know. So it was real interesting their food selections and how well they just even went through my refrigerator and said, "Oh, I'm going to make this, I'm going to make that," And so I thought, wow, this is so great to have this kind of a mindset. And what they do is it triggers, okay, if I eat gluten, I'm going to feel yucky the next day or next few days or whatever. For you, it might be lactose, it might be something else. But the point is that when you're going into lifetime maintenance in particular, where it's not so structured, it's more on your choices. It's really, really important to know those types of things and make choices in advance so that you're not always fighting self-control, because as it says in the book, willpower doesn't work. Your environment does. So what you want to do is go to work on your environment, and then you won't have so much trouble with your willpower because there won't be there things like that pulling at you. So anyway, I just wanted to give that example. But what I want to really do here was something I was going to touch on last week, and then we kind of ran out of time. But a product called CoQ10, and we have that in our business in Nutrilite, and we've taken it for years. It's very, very good for your heart. And that's what most people take it for. But I came across a really good article that I thought I would just read to you on different outlying things that CoQ10 can address. And this is from editor-in-chief Live in the Now, and he's got a company called Stop Aging Now, and it's a supplement company. But anyway, he says, Perhaps you are one of tens of millions of Americans who suffer every day from vague symptoms such as low energy, cloudy thinking, chronic muscle pain, or joint discomfort. If you have a lingering health problem that your doctor can't seem to solve, please read the letter I recently received from Patricia Burgess. It made me realize that so many chronic health problems people face can so easily be solved with natural supplements. And the impact can be nothing short of life-changing. So this happened to be a couple, and the woman says, my husband and I both take statin drugs to lower cholesterol. Well, the amount of people that take statin drugs today is staggering. And the doctors will not only give you statin drugs for heart, but for many other things too, never thinking about the long-term ill effects and also the addiction that you can be on some of that. She said, we were suffering from body aches and pains and just feeling miserable. In one of your newsletters, I read an article on coenzyme Q10 and its effectiveness in relieving the side effects of statins. So she was addressing statins here. So she said, the article goes on, not this couple now. This is the article from the Joshua Korn. He says, remember that your heart is an engine. I like to think about it this way. Your heart works day in and day out to bring crucial oxygen and nutrients to literally every cell in your body. Mitochondria, right, Eric? Especially your brain cells. It's essentially the engine that is powering your entire body. On an average, it needs to be your heart needs to beat about 100,000 times a day to get its job done. That means it will beat billions of times over the course of your life. Sounds like a lot of work and strain on your heart muscles. It is, which is why taking care of your heart and keeping it strong is the key to a healthy heart and a long life. And of course, the earlier you do this, the better. So anyway, then it goes on and says, what fuels your heart? Your heart is fueled by something called coenzyme Q10. You may have heard of it as CoQ10 before. It's important to understand why this nutrient is so critical to your body function. CoQ10 is a cellular energy booster and powerful antioxidant, and it is an essential part of your body's energy producing process. CoQ10 is found throughout your body, but is most concentrated in your heart muscles because of high energy demands. Excuse me for a minute here. When your heart has the high levels of CoQ10 it needs, it works like a charm. But when your levels are low, your heart strains to do its job, and ultimately your entire body suffers. Suboptimal heart function can result in mystery illnesses such as fatigue, pain, and decreases in mental function, just to name a few. And so then it says, why take supplemental CoQ10? According to leading experts who are on the cutting edge of natural health, it's critical to supplement with CoQ10 as you age. After the age of 30, natural levels, 30 years old, guys, natural levels of CoQ10 begin to diminish. By the age of 50, your CoQ10 levels may be too low to support optimal health function. And by age 70, your levels can become so low they can actually accelerate aging. Your age aside, further loss of CoQ10 is caused by stress. I mean, who is not under stressful situations today? Illness or the use of certain medications such as statins. So my point there is that people will say, well, why do I have to take so many supplements, you know? And they're thinking that they're 21 years old. Well, yeah, we didn't have to take that many supplements when we were 21, but every 10 years, your body produces less and less. And I've said this about digestive enzymes for years, that by 40, you need to be taking digestive enzymes because it stopped at a great degree of producing the necessary enzymes to break down your food. So it says, in fact, the worst culprit is statin drugs. It is now estimated that 1 in 3 adults over 50 take a statin. 1 in 3. Meanwhile, few doctors warn their patients that by taking a statin to help their heart, they are in fact slowly draining their heart of the very fuel it needs for optimal health. In my opinion, this is a shame since so many people's heart health is being needlessly jeopardized at the hands of their own doctors. The benefits of CoQ10 are too good to ignore. I've read literally hundreds of CoQ10 studies from around the world, and I can tell you firsthand that CoQ10 is amazingly safe and well tolerated by the human body. There appears to be no toxicity, even at super high levels. Also, it has virtually no side effects. It doesn't make you jittery or upset your stomach. It doesn't conflict with any medications or supplements you may take. What it does do is nothing short of a health miracle, in my opinion. It energizes your heart and keeps it pumping strong. So, what does that mean? That means oxygen is being pumped through your body at a very high level. It boosts brain power and provides mental clarity because when your heart's working, the oxygen is going up into your brain, so it's working and you have mental clarity. That's my little side notes there. It provides cellular energy and effectively combats fatigue, and it fights off harmful free radicals that accumulate in your body. So it says the supplements industry's dirty little secret in wrapping up here. You'll find CoQ10 supplements virtually everywhere. And most people, unfortunately, are tricked into thinking that all CoQ10 is the same. But there's a dirty little secret they won't tell you on the label. All of the research supporting the benefits of CoQ10 have been conducted with natural CoQ10, not stuff that you buy from the lab. Um, but most supplements are made of synthesized CoQ10. Worse yet, guess where it's synthesized from? Believe it or not, tobacco leaves are the primary source of synthetic CoQ10. And so it says you'll be surprised that 100% natural CoQ10 is usually no more expensive than synthetic. You just need to know how to look for it. And of course, voila, we have it in our business and it's 100% natural. And then it says, finally, we make sure that it's made in the USA right on the bottle. Who needs CoQ10 bottled overseas in facilities of questionable integrity? It's just not worth the risk. So I thought that was very good. And for those of you that are new and want information, excuse me, I'm working with one hand here. I did pull up on our site our CoQ10, and it's a supplement that delivers CoQ10, coenzyme Q10, a nutrient that helps cell produce energy for heart health. As we age, we tend to produce less CoQ10. Okay, it says it supports the heart, liver, and all cells with daily use. One soft gel provides 30 milligrams of CoQ10, the equivalent of CoQ10 found in 2 pounds of beef. And that's why it's so hard to get it just from foods. Antioxidant protection against free radicals, and it's got citrus bioflavonoid concentrates, and so it provides phytonutrient benefits. And the stock number on that, oh, let's see, is A8601, and ours has got vitamin E in it, 89% of daily value, coenzyme Q10, rosemary extract, the aerial parts, that means the tips, and citrus bioflavonoids. And so I wanted to just kind of alert you on that. Many times I will recommend for people to take CoQ10 if they have heart conditions, but you can see that there's just so many things that are relative to taking just a little black, little round gel supplement on a daily basis, and how that can mean huge amounts to you in further, and also might address those of you that know people that are on statin drugs. That might be a suggestion for them to work with their doctor on, or their functional medicine professional. So Eric, that's what I wanted to share on CoQ10 today. And yeah, I'm going to go back
I,
to you.
I love it. I love it. And, you mentioned, this is something that, like others, like you mentioned, digestive enzyme, that as we age, we produce less. And we've talked about that before. And on the digestive enzyme, because that's one that we often feel, the CoQ10, maybe not as much. It's equally, if not more important, for all the reasons that you went through, Carol. But the digestive enzyme is when you suddenly slowly start realizing, gee, I just ate a meal and now I feel bloated. I feel gassy. I feel uncomfortable. And as you mentioned, Carol, that can happen usually with most people, around the age of 40. So this point that you're making of what you're like when you're 20 isn't what you're like when you're 30 or 40 or 50. It changes. And then we learned so well from Sharon last Monday, I think it was, last
Yep.
Monday,
Yep.
on digestive enzymes, and when to create a gap between some of the other supplements, specifically the carb blocker and the probiotic. I believe I've got that correct. And what great insight, as always, from Sharon on that topic. But then last thing, and I'll turn it back over to whomever. This is, I went and grabbed this real quick while you're talking, is our CoQ10 there. And then, as you mentioned, Carol, and we often laugh about this, I'll see if I can get a black backdrop there. And if you're not able to watch, fine. Even if you are, you might not be able to see this, but it's that beautiful black little guy right there, that black little, like a black little jelly bean is what it is. Now, why do we laugh about that? Because if anybody has had the horrific experience of their supplement tray tipping over on their kitchen counter and spraying all over the place, and you've got everything that looks so similar, you're wondering how to get everything back into your Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But these little black guys that are standing out like beacons, those are very clear what those are. Whereas the vitamin C and the I don't know, some of the others are very earth tone, we'll just say, in similar size. So it's tough to identify them. But thank you so much for that, Carol. Any thoughts, questions, commentary?
I just wanted to share something. Oh,
Yes,
one of
we'll go
us.
to Eileen, and then I'm not sure who the other one was. It might have been Hank, but Eileen, we know you're queued up here. Go for it. Love your hat, by the way.
Oh, thanks. A lot of sun here. So yeah. Yeah, so I mentioned this before in the past, but 10 years ago, or maybe more, my cardiologist said, if you take one supplement, take CoQ10. So I just wanted to share that from my cardiologist.
And Eileen, were you not on statins when you started Health Point?
I was.
And you're not any longer, correct?
I'm not, but I am working with a doctor on that. I didn't just get off.
Oh, no,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, I did have a heart attack. So in my 40s, and I wish that I had been on some of these supplements before, because my cholesterol was good. It had been like 285 and I dropped it to 185, but I had a blockage. If I had been doing some of the supplements, I think I might have been spared. Yeah, it's just unfortunate, but yeah, so I'm working with a cardiologist, and right now I'm off the statins and my numbers are good.
Perfect.
Because of the plan, and I'm sure the supplements help.
And for the new people, and also for us not new people that never tire of hearing your story and your numbers, Eileen, can you remind everyone or share, as you often do, your total weight loss between you and then also Bruce, if you care to share that?
Yeah, so I've lost about 75, Bruce 50. Right before, I've done this before. I lost 100 pounds before, and then I had the heart issue, and I don't know. I just deal with this, and I feel like finally I've got this plan. This is really solid. We have a lot of support. We have recommendations on things to read that help us keep going and have the right mindset. Sorry. Because it's serious, not just for me, really for all of us, but I'm almost 65 now. I mean, if I didn't do something, I was going to drop dead. That's all there is to it. I had high blood pressure. My doctor kept saying, you got to take drugs. I'm like, I'm going to take drugs for that. And my cholesterol was off, and I was taking double the amount of statin drug before just to stay constant because I was eating junk. So the high blood pressure, statin, my liver enzymes were off. So I was having fatty liver and so on. I can't even remember what else. I'd have to look it up. And right now, everything's good. I mean, it's doing this program, sticking. I'm not perfect. I'm working on maintenance, not doing so great. I'm up and down, but I'm working on it. And I'm not ever just going to go back. I'm not going back. So yeah, good program, solid.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Those numbers are just incredible, and really appreciate how transparent you are. You've always been on sharing your journey, the high points and, candidly, the low points. If you've struggled, you've struggled. And and you and Bruce have some fun stuff that you do, which kind of throws
Yeah,
you into some fun environments with your travels and cruises and everything else
yeah,
like that.
yeah. We do. Like we were just in a Bavarian town 2 days a couple weeks ago, passing through each way we went somewhere. I'm like, yeah, German food. You know what German food is? Well, anyway, yeah, we do a lot, and I just have to really work at being healthy almost all the time so that I can have a little treat here and there. Just don't do a lot of treats, That's what I'm working on.
Right on. Well,
Yeah,
great, great. Well, thanks for sharing on that, and specifically on that statin. Again, the CoQ10. I mean, this is real. This is very real stuff. So thank you very much.
Eric,
Yes.
thanks here. Just a quickie on the CoQ10. It feeds your mitochondria, okay? CoQ10 does a great job with your mitochondria, which we've talked about a lot before. And the recommended amount is 2 capsules a day, 2 a day, if you look at the bottle. And I love it. It's great. And I cannot say enough about that product. And Dr. Shears is a big proponent of CoQ10, big time. So, okay, just want to share that with you.
I love it. I love it. And yeah, we can never say enough about mitochondria. I know we visited it, a number of times here on the Voices of Health Point. And thanks for sharing that, Hank. And also that, Dr. Sears is such a proponent. And I know he's such a source of, gosh, he's a huge proponent of the omegas, is what I've heard you say. And now the CoQ10, no surprise on that. That's awesome. Thank you very much, Hank. David, did you like the Three Little Bears story?
Yes, I did.
All
Yes.
right.
Yes.
That one
yes.
was for you.
I'm a preschooler at heart, so I like it when you get it down to that level.
All right. Well, you wanted to share or had something that you thought might be fun. So
Just actually 3 quick thoughts. And one is just, again, the gratefulness of having a coach. And so recently I've had some knee problems in walking. And when I talked with Carol, She has mentioned this before, but she's really zeroed in on me. And what she asked me about was what do my shoes look like? Okay, my shoes, I'm cheap. And so my shoes were are very old. So I went out and bought some new shoes. And then the other thing she reminded me of was Terry Andrews. Well, again, in pain relief, we often will keep taking Tylenols until the pain goes away. Just stack them, okay? And Terry Andrews, I guess, had shared that you take glucosamine. How many glucosamines do you take until the pain goes away? And so I used to take 4 a day because I have some arthritis in my fingers and I still try to play my guitar a little bit. And so I was up to like 8 and 9 a day. But anyways, between the shoes, glucosamine, and a little extra omegas, my knee is like about 80% better than it was last Saturday. And so I am grateful for my upline coach. And we already gave kudos up to Sharon Webb, but I've shared, I am not a morning person. I wake up and the first thing I do is take Papa Rhodiola and before I see my wife, who is a morning person. And the next thing I want is a cup of coffee. And so it was really enlightening. I had never heard it before, but when Sharon Webb shared about the probiotic and how you don't want to have something hot for 30 minutes or 20, 30 minutes after you've had the probiotic, because the heat will kill the effect of the probiotic. And so that was new information for me. And so part of it is I used to take my muscle multiplier and then my probiotic. I now take my probiotic the first thing I get in the morning, and then I'll go for a while. Then I'll have my muscle multiplier, and then I'll have my breakfast and coffee and stuff. And so those were just a couple things that I learned. And again, the last thing would just be the CoQ10. As somebody who's had 5 heart surgeries, that's a product that I endorse. And when we talk about Health Point, or at least when I talk about Health Point, I talk about I want to get you healthy at the cellular level. I want to get you healthy at the cellular level. And that's one of the things that CoQ10 does help you to do. So those are my 3 things that have nothing to do with each other.
Hence the eclectic mix that you titled it as. I love it. It's a lot of fun, but a lot of great, solid stuff there. And yeah, just double click on that comment to Sharon's segment. I think a lot of us that are, quote, educated in this space or, coaching, it just goes to show, just stay plugged in. You never know what you're going to learn. And it was like, pow, pow,
Stay plugged in is a key word.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
You and I have both heard Sharon Webb a few times. And it was like, this was brand new. It was like, I've heard you speak before, and she dropped a dime on me that I had not heard before.
Yeah. Yep.
I think we all felt that way. We were all taking notes of things we were going to do different. Mine was the digestive enzyme, taking it with your other vitamins. You don't. She said you don't take it with carb blocker. And one thing I know, Hank, when he gets up in the morning, he does the balance within with his lukewarm water or room temperature water with fiber. I get my fiber because I'm a big chia seed person, so I throw that in my shake in the morning. So I do the muscle multiplier first thing in the morning because if you remember, like David, I had a knee situation where I was sure without the supplements I would have had to have meniscus surgery. Well, it completely healed all by itself with the supplements and the muscle multiplier, and I started taking it 3 times a day. And the first thing I take is first thing in the morning, and as soon as I take that, I mix it with the balance within. So this way I can get double duty. And I asked Steve Beber about it. By the way, Steve Beber is going to do muscle multiplier on Monday night. My days are all mixed up here, but I'm pretty sure it's Monday night. He's going to do a whole presentation on muscle multiplier. He did it for one of our Tuesday nights, but unfortunately, our computer was working under a full moon and it was just doing screwy things and we didn't get a good recording. So I asked him to do it tomorrow, Monday night. And but the muscle multiplier, he said, is okay to take with the balance within. They will not interact with each other. So unless somebody knows something different, That's what I've been doing. So sometimes if you can double duty and put things together, it makes it a little bit easier too. But again, and I do want to reiterate one thing that Eileen said, because we are working with a very large mixed group here of new people, seasoned people, and what have you. Please, if you're doing something like statins or any kind of dangerous medications, make sure you're working with your your doctor on this, because you're on it for a reason, and they feel that was the best for you. And many of them will work very closely with you to help you get off those and move into something more natural. But do work with your doctor. So
Yeah.
Carol,
yes,
Carol, this is
Yeah.
Sharon.
yes, Sharon.
I just wanted to say that it's just been not even 2 weeks ago that Jerry and I went to the heart doctor. They always book us together and we go in and hear each other. And when the cardiologist came in, he rushed in the door, said, "Oh my gosh, this is great," shook both of our hands, said, "Y'all are my example of the day. I'm going to tell
Oh,
everybody about you." And he went on and on and on for 10 minutes about how great both of our hearts were.
oh
And I do have to say that several years ago, when the cardiologist told Jerry, "One of these days you're going to have a pacemaker. One of these days, not now, but one of these days." And that's when the doctor put him on 4 CoQ10 a day. Now, this was when the CoQ10 was much more, I'm sorry, 6 CoQ10 a day. Okay, Jerry's giving me signals here. Anyway, that's when our CoQ10 was quite a bit more expensive, you know. But I want to tell you, that was just amazing. It was just amazing information that we did not know until then. And so we're just so excited. That doctor who's about probably half our, maybe not quite half our age, but anyway, he just was so excited and said, "You just made my day. You do everything I say, and I'm going to tell all of my patients about y'all." So anyway, we got a really good report about almost 2 weeks ago.
Oh, that is so great. Sharon, do you how many do you take now?
Now per day, 6.
6.
Still
Okay.
yeah. So and like you say, you can't. No, I'm sorry. Jerry takes 6. I take 2 a day. But you know, you can't overdose on them, as I
No.
think you mentioned earlier.
Mhm.
And it is electricity for your heart. And so if somebody is facing maybe a pacemaker or something, then you might want to check into, you know, would this help? Could this delay it even? You
Mhm.
know, so so
Hey,
anyway, yes,
Sharon, I have a question. When you're taking, like with Jerry taking 6 a day, how does he space that out? Or even with you taking 2, how do you space that out?
okay. Just a second. Let me ask him. Okay.
Well,
Okay. Jerry, I think Jerry's going to unmute here. Just 1 second.
well,
Because he gets his vitamins out. So let's see. Here, I'm just talking here.
Okay, I take 2 in the morning and 1 at night.
No, but you
No,
take
no, I take. Mm, I don't know. I have to
He'd have to go over here and look. He said, "Okay," but he divides his morning and night, so he doesn't take them all at once.
No, I just take 4.
Okay. He is backing. You know what? I was right the first time. He takes 4 a day. Okay, he takes 2 in the morning, 2 at night. He just looked at all of our vitamins. So yes, so he
Great.
takes still 4 a day, and I take 2 a day.
Super. Thank you.
Yeah, sometimes you have to look at your vitamins like, oh my goodness. We had a son-in-law come over the other day, and we had our vitamins out morning and night. And he took a picture of them. He said, "I can't believe it." So anyway, we want to stay healthy. We want to have a great lifespan. So anyway, and we're getting great reports from doctors. So that's always very encouraging.
Woohoo! That is fabulous. And you know what? There's a great example of lifetime maintenance. They are so in the habit of taking their supplements that they have to look in their container to see, because you do it mindlessly. You just go in there and you get your stuff out. And then when somebody asks you an obvious question, you have to go back and think about it, because you just do it mindlessly. You do healthy habits
Right.
mindlessly. And that's a really, really good factor.
Just one quick thought on this. Remember, I don't call them vitamins. I call them food supplements because that's what they really are. Our vitamins from Lutherite are actually food in a tablet form because it comes right off the farms. It's not done synthetically in some laboratory. Then those are vitamins. Ours are food supplements, which today we need because
Amen.
our food quality is not what it used to be. So it's a big
Amen.
difference.
It's not only what it used to be, but it's dangerously low. And I think Frank Tennant on one of his audios on our new global app talked about how United States is even lower than most. And because we have such poor farming practices between Monsanto and all the stuff they spray on your supplements. And we went down this road before, but I will remind people, get your bottle of LOC out and make up a fruit and veggie wash. I was just talking to somebody this morning about that. You know, we're eating a lot of fruits and vegetables. We sure don't want to be eating all those pesticides on them. And so what you want to do, and you can't always get it organic. And so what you want to do is get a spray bottle, one of our spray bottles, fill it with water, and then I put in about 5 pumps of LOC. And then things like raspberries and blueberries and lettuce and all that kind of loosey-goosey stuff, I just spray it all in a colander. And then I put it in East Spring water. Oh, I always use East Spring water with everything. And just wash it real good and rinse it off and then store it in the refrigerator. And things like peaches are really in now. And our peaches down here, I don't know about you, but ours are drop dead delicious. They are so good. So we're going to OD on peaches for a while. And that's one of the dirty dozen, peaches and nectarines. And so what you want to do is take LOC straight and just put it on that. And I do that with my grapefruits even, or my oranges. Even though you're not eating it, all of that is all stuff that is leaking into your like if you're eating off of a rind, you're getting some of that in your mouth. So I just take straight LOC, wash it real good, and then rinse it real good. And and make sure that when you're doing like raspberries and all that kind of stuff, you're really rinsing them real good. But the LOC is not going to hurt you anyway. But yeah, get in the habit of doing those things. Okay, that's it.
Great stuff. Yeah, wow. I'll tell you one thing that happened with me in this segment on CoQ10 and hearing from Sharon and Jerry and then yourself, Carol, and David. And it just, and we've talked on this subject before, but it just dawned on me, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do, and everybody can do their own thing. But we all have loved ones that may benefit from some of these products. And I'll just speak for myself and for Emily, for myself with my dad, who fortunately, practices very healthy habits. And also Emily's mom and dad, do really, really well also. But, we kind of take care of them when it comes to, supplements, and so that's traditionally, just like with my dad, the double X, the omegas, a couple other things in there. But, and I just, so I'm going to add this CoQ10 to his ditto delivery. I pay for it. And again, I'm not suggesting other people do that. You do things however it works for you. But, my rationale on that, and I think Emily's rationale, is that, look, they suffered through raising us and putting up with, us, and untold costs associated with that, both financially and probably emotionally as well. So, hey, I'm more than happy to take care of my dad, on this little element of his monthly supplement regimen, and he loves it. He loves it, and he gets. I tell you what, there's only been 2 people that have had lower triglyceride numbers than Emily and I. We used to always like almost not share our triglyceride numbers with people, like particularly when I'm coaching someone, because I don't want them to be thinking, that that's the benchmark. And then where their triglycerides are, it's like, it's too far of a spread. But Carol, your triglyceride numbers that you shared once, I was like, dang it. All right. My competitive nature of me, I'm like, I got to beat Carol. And then the other one was, my dad, he's been, again, he practices healthy habits, kind of follows a health point type of thing, and does really well, but also gobbles up the omegas. And his triglyceride, he's just, I'm like, hey, Dad, I'm curious, what are your numbers on this most recent report? And he hit me with his triglyceride number, and it's well down in the 50s, just to give you an idea on that. So really, really great numbers. And so, but I'm going to add this CoQ10 to it. We have a ditto set up for him as a client. I pay for it, and I want him to start having this CoQ10 in there. And I imagine we'll probably for Emily's mom and dad as well. Let's take care of those loved ones around us. If it fits for you, if it works for you, if you've got people that are loved ones, it's one of the reasons we want to be, doing well financially, making money, is to be able to gift and share, when appropriate, and certainly family and loved ones is one, and ditto delivery makes it so easy. So I'm definitely going to do that. And it didn't resonate with me and all the other CoQ10 coverage that we've done, but it did this time. So thanks everyone on that.
Eric, would you share with the folks once again? I think this is very, very good. How, a lot of times the doctors will go look at your cholesterol and they say, oh, your cholesterol's too high. Well, they're just not looking at it properly in many cases. I was a perfect example of that. And can you tell folks what they should be reading and how and what range they should fall in for really, really healthy? I'm sorry to catch you off
No
the
worries.
spot here.
Yeah, no worries. So I think what you might be referring to is your triglyceride to HDL ratio.
Correct, yes.
So you'll want to, divide your triglycerides by your HDL. And it's really interesting. We've often cited one of the most renowned endocrinologists, Dr. Robert Lustig, a number of times. The guy's just incredible in this space. But anyhow, he speaks to this ratio, and for just kind of painting with a broad brush, not taking into, there's slight variations on ethnicity and other things, but broadly speaking, if that ratio is 2 or less, then you're going to, as he said, be immortal. You're going to live forever. And so that's a real important number. So what you want is, you want your triglycerides, just broadly speaking, to be low, and your HDL, the quote unquote good cholesterol, to be the higher number. And that's what drives that division in a favorable space. If somebody, on the other hand, has super high triglycerides, okay, and low, so they've got a high number on the quote unquote bad stuff, the triglycerides, and a low number on the HDL, let's say they're 150 or whatever, on their triglycerides, and then their HDL is, I don't know, 55. Okay, that math is not very good. But if their triglycerides are in the 50s or 60s, and their HDL is high, in the sense of like maybe in the 80s or something, now that they've got a good number on there. And we can unpack, what that is signaling. But I'll just touch on it, just a nerd on this a little bit. What Dr. Robert Lustig talks about is, everybody hears about cholesterol numbers. We've heard about it in this episode, cholesterol, and you get a lipid panel and it gives a total cholesterol, okay, which Robert Lustig is quick to say, throw that number in the trash. That's meaningless. That's him saying that, not me, but, throw it in the trash. He says, so then you're left with the specific breakdown, it seems, of LDL and HDL. The challenge is that's two categories, HDL and LDL. LDL actually has two subsets within that, but you rarely get that number. I was just working with somebody the other day that was asking about some of this information, and they knew to press their physician, their primary care physician, for a more robust LDL report, and their physician was just like giving them pushback, like, why do you need this? Why do you want this? But what it is when in the category of LDL, there are, just picture one form of LDL is large buoyant particles. Think about like beach balls, like big, bouncing around in your bloodstream. And then the smaller ones, think of almost like grains of sand, small, dense particles. So the LDL is broken down into big beach balls and small, dense particles. The big beach balls are relatively harmless. They can't clot, they can't cause that. They're not a factor in that arterial sclerosis. But the small, dense particles, those are the ones that kind of embed and can build up that plaque in your arteries. The problem is that when you get an LDL number, just altogether, it's combining those numbers. So do you have 99% big beach balls and 1% sand? Or do you have 99% sand and 1% beach balls? It makes a world of difference. If you're all a bunch of big beach balls, your LDL can actually be a higher number, and it's not particularly concerning. Yet they may want to, just because your overall number is high, they may be quick to throw you on a statin. So what Dr. Lustig says is, if they're not going to break down that number for you, if you can't get that, that's okay. Look elsewhere in your lipid panel, because you're always going to have your triglyceride and you're always going to have your HDL. And by proxy, if you do the math on that, that will show, whether your ratio is high on beach balls or high on gritty sand. I know that's a little bit of math there, but that is kind of unpacking that a bit, Carol. Hopefully that was.
Yeah, you gave me a nice little simple explanation that I will shoot out to people, because I laminated it. I'm very, very, well, I shouldn't say that's negative programming, but I think in terms of visions rather than in numbers. So I like to have it down. And I did laminate it. I'll send that out. But also, correct me if I'm wrong, but the triglycerides are basically the fat in your blood, and your HDL, I think of it as little trucks. And they're trucking that fat out of your blood to keep your blood flowing clean and not getting a plaque buildup. Is that correct, or am I off base there?
Yeah, that's directionally correct. And I like the visual. You want lots of little trucks shoveling. Yeah.
Kind of like the K2. You need those truckers in those arteries so that they don't get all plugged up with plaque, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So let me. I was just running some numbers, on that. So let's say that somebody does have a triglyceride in like Carol's range, okay, or Carol's range, my dad's range, Emily and I, and they're in their 50s. Let's just let me just take a look at. Well, I don't have to be super precise. When you take that number, the triglyceride number, and I think I use the number 57, I might be off on a little bit on this, and the HDL number of 88. So the triglyceride number is low, healthy, low, and the HDL number is healthy, high. 57-ish divided by 88-ish came to 0.579. So remember, we want to be below 2. So let's just call that 0.6. That's definitely less than 2. So you want to be 2 or below. 0.6 is well below 2. So somebody that has triglycerides in their 50s in that case, and HDL in their 80s, that you do the math on that and you end up with about 0.6. So that's good. On the other hand, if somebody had looked at their lipid panel and they had a triglyceride that is high, okay, let me just double check the math here real quick that I did. And yeah, so let's say that their triglycerides are high, they're 180. Again, you want that to be low. And their triglycerides are high, just for example, 180. And let's say that their HDL, which you'd like to be high, are relatively low. Let's say that they're 60. So you take the triglyceride number, which is 180, divide it by 60, and that's 3. That's above 2. 3 is above 2. Not good. Okay. In fact, I'll just make a poignant comment here. There was somebody, a loved one that I knew that I hadn't communicated with in years. This was some time ago, but I got a text message. They were in ICU. I called. I could hear them in the background, and so I knew that they were okay. That was first and foremost. Secondly, as I was talking with another loved one that was in the ICU, I asked if I could, get some numbers, and I got these numbers. And when I did the math on it, I said, "Wow, okay." So that number was very high. That ratio number was, as I recall, above 4. Now they were in there in the ICU because they suffered a heart attack. Okay, that's why they were in there. And so it just goes to show, had they been aware of these numbers, had they been monitoring it, etc., doing a little bit of the math, again, always communicating with your physician, your doctor, your healthcare professional, work in concert with this. But as that number was creeping up, 1.5, 2, okay, still pretty good. But then if it started going 2.5, it didn't go to 4 overnight, is the point. At some point it was 2.5, and then it was 3, and then 3.5, and then 4. And well, at some point, it's mathematical, almost certainty they're going to have a heart attack. And in this case, it caught them by surprise. And fortunately, they survived and are doing quite well today. But these numbers are things that can help you out on that. So,
going back to that, Hank sent me a really good picture because someone asked me a while back, how do you raise your HDL? What foods can you? And I had never really seen anything specifically on that. Well, Hank sent me a picture of the power of an egg, how important an egg is. And one of the things on there it said was it raises your HDL. And of course, we know that in Health Point, egg is a big thing. And egg got a bad rap for a long time. In fact, people were eating egg whites, which was ridiculous. And because you're taking the best part of the egg, your yolk, and by the way, the darker orange your yolk is, the better your egg is. Just know that when you crack an egg open. If it's dark orange, it's not a bad egg. It's a really good nutrient-dense egg. And in there is your cholesterol fighter, because people were saying, oh, don't eat the eggs, it's got cholesterol in them. What in fact it's got is lecithin. And lecithin is a breakdown. It will break down the fat in your blood. And we have the chewable lecithin E in our line. It's very, very good for your heart. And so please get an egg that's got a dark yolk. Eat them regularly, and they will raise your HDL, and they will break down the fat in your blood. So they're very good for you. So.
Wonderful. Yep. Eat your eggs.
Eat your eggs. That's right.
All right, guys, this has been so phenomenal. Just love how we just kind of spin off into these back and forth, communication and just, bouncing things around. So wonderful. So thank you everyone for kind of tuning into this episode. And again, we'll get this up onto YouTube for either review or for people that chose not to join us live at 8 o'clock. But we'll plan on seeing everyone next Saturday, same time, same place. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks,
Adios.
Eric. Bye,
Great
everybody.
week.
Bye,
Have a
thank
great
you.
week.
Bye.